Hey everybody, this is Dr. Terry Chase. I'm a speaker, I'm an author, I'm a coach, and I really love working with people around their wholeness. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce my theory. It's called the wheel theory of well-being. Because I really do see all of us as in wholeness, much like a bike tire, a bike wheel, or a wheelchair wheel, depending on what you're looking at. So we're going to look at 4 components and how they integrate and how they support each other and support ourselves and our lives. So follow along. We're going to take each component a little bit more in depth, and we'll do a little bit of work towards the end, because I really believe in the wheel theory of well-being and that we're all whole just as we are. All right, so welcome to episode 4. And what I want to do is I just want to recap this wheel theory of well-being. So remember, the hub is our true self, the authentic self. And for some people, it might be the spiritual self. What gives us our spark of life? Next, we have our spokes, which is our connection to ourself, our mental connection to ourself and to others, and how we respond to the world. Our rim carries the load. It's the physical part. It's how, it's the structure of us that holds of what we carry in the world. And then the tire and tubes is our emotional self, the one that softens our experience in the world, softens our experience of others, and keeping that at the right level of inflation so that we can get over our rough patches in better shape. So the wheel theory of well-being is not about a series of check boxes. It's really about checking the whole system. Because if you look at a bike wheel or a wheelchair wheel like this one, if the hub is not greased well or triflowed well, lubricated well, it's going to be off. If the spokes are wobbly and not connected, if we don't check where we are, it's going to be difficult to, be in the world, be a little bit more difficult. And then the rim, which is the physical structure, which holds the weight of what we do, carries us forward. And then our tube and tires. So it's not a matter of just one piece of the system, because if you look, the hub connects to the spokes connect to the rim, the tire and tubes are fit well into the rim. So we need to look at our whole system. So it would behoove us to go, which part of the system is off and how might it be affecting all the other ones? So when I'm riding my bike and something's off, I feel like something's off with my bike and, I'm looking at my wheels. Usually it might be one component that's affected, but it's affecting the entire system. Kind of like us as human beings. So this true self, if we're not really listening to ourselves, if there's something emerging from inside of us that we just keep not wanting to listen, that could be an example of the hub is just not getting the attention it needs. With that, it could also affect the spokes, so that we then begin to disconnect with ourselves. Separation from ourselves is one of the true tragedies, spiritual crises of our time. Not staying connected to who we are and really listening for that inspiration from within. So the spokes can be off. They can also affect our relationships. So kind of like when the spoke is broke or the spoke is loose on a bike tire, it's going to affect how the wheel performs. It's going to be wobbly. It's going to be off center. It's just not going to want to go in its true direction. With that, if the rim has been bent, which I certainly have had nicks and bends in my rims from hitting hard surfaces, we need to get that corrected. So without that, it's how we're not going to be able to carry what we're meant to carry in our life. And then if our emotions are off and we're really not paying attention to our levels, kind of like in the tube and tire, if our air pressures are down, our rough patches are going to be even rougher. So the wheel theory of well-being is about attention to the entire system. And when I work with people, we look at the entire system. We don't just go, one thing's off and maybe another. We look at, well, if that's off, how's it affecting this? And how's it affecting that? And how are things going in your life as a whole? So we've gone over the components. We've gone over how, they're all interconnected. This is a system, and we've related it to our lives as human beings, not just as a bike or a wheelchair tire. So what I'd like you to do is just take a minute and pause. And for each component of yourself, check in. How's your hub? Are you really paying attention to yourself? Are you listening deeply for what is wanting to be heard? How are your connections to yourself, the spokes? Are you connected to yourself? Do you give yourself time to reset? Do you take a break? It doesn't have to be an hour. It could be 10 minutes. It could be 5 minutes. But are you intentionally reconnecting with yourself? Check your connection to others. Check your connection to the world. Are you having difficulty with relationships? Are things starting to feel a little off? Or it could also be that, the world is trying to connect to you, but you're not there. So take a minute to look at that. And then the rim of yourself, your physical structure, how are you holding up? Are you resting? Are you eating well? Are you getting some exercise? Are you getting outside? And then your emotions. If your emotions are ragged and you're reacting to everybody and you're taking everything personally, it might be that your emotional state, your tire and tubes need a little bit of attention. Because when we're off in any part of the system, we're going to lose our clarity, we're going to lose our ability to respond, and we're going to be much more reactive. So check it out. How's your hub? How's your spokes? How's your rim? How's your tube and tires? Okay, so thank you very much for being with me in this series around the wheel theory of well-being. I really love bikes. I love wheels. I think they're definitely a symbol of wholeness. So when I work with people, I literally see them kind of like this. I see them as a whole system, and we're going to check each part out and just see what's going on and how that might react. So ring me up if you're interested in hearing a little bit more about the wheel theory of well-being. Check out the resources below, and I'll see you next time.